We got some people hopping on. Right now, we're going to get started probably in a couple of minutes. Hey, Rob, I'm going to say this, man, before we get started. It take a lot of guts to do your first podcast live.
It does. It does.
No filters or nothing, man.
That's it. You got me over here nervous like Purvis.
You called me like, man, I don't know why I'm so nervous.
Yeah, man.
I was like, bro, I'm nervous too.
We're going to make it happen.
We're going to do it. We're going to be nervous together, man.
That's it. That's it. But I really appreciate you having me on, man. It's a real honor. So I appreciate that.
Hey, anytime, brother. Man, we're going to go ahead and get started here, man. And, you know, whoever doesn't have a chance to see us at the beginning, they will see the download on YouTube, man. So let's go ahead and get started. Well, hey, everyone, I really appreciate you all joining us today. You know, the main objective of the Wealthy Educator podcast really is to recognize and empower educators all over. So we really are appreciative that you are here. You know, before we introduce our guest today, if you're watching this on YouTube, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel and like the video. If you're watching us live on Facebook, go ahead and like the video and share with your friends and tell them about the channel. Our guest today comes from very humble beginnings from the hometown of the legendary Michael Jackson, Gary, Indiana. He's a graduate of Stone Mountain High School outside of Metro Atlanta. After a very, very good career at Clemson University, he was drafted by the San Diego Chargers. He is currently an assistant principal at an elementary school in Columbia, South Carolina. He is married and he has a daughter named Grace. He has a story to tell. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce you, Mr. Robert Carswell. Robert, how you doing today, brother?
Man, doing pretty good. I was loving that Tupac intro you had. So got me over here bobbing my head. But yeah, I'm doing pretty good. And once again, I really appreciate you inviting me to come on to your show.
Man, that's what's up, man. Hey, I appreciate you, agreeing to be on, and hopefully we'll learn some things today, man. And hey, man, real quick, just if you could just tell everybody a little bit about yourself, just a little bit of background information before we really dive into it.
Okay, yeah, like you said, man, I was born in Gary, Indiana. We moved to the Atlanta metro area very early. I think I was in the second grade. Man, I was fortunate and blessed, to have two parents and a village of teachers and coaches that really surrounded me. So even if I wanted to go astray, I had those old school bend your ear teachers that kind of bend your ear and bring you back to the fold, and didn't hesitate to call my parents and reach out. But after leaving Stone Mountain High School, had an opportunity, to go and extend my football playing career at Clemson University. And that was a fantastic decision. One of the things I really loved about Clemson is the balance that they had from academics as well as a great athletic program, and they developed the whole person. And so after my time up there at Clemson, I went and played down 2 years with the San Diego Chargers. I actually got drafted in the same draft class as Drew Brees and LaDainian Tomlinson. Got a chance to play side by side with Junior Seau and Rodney Harrison, some of the all-time greats. Got a chance to come down to Texas. We played Emmitt Smith down in Dallas Stadium, played against Jerry Rice. Those were some of the older guys. They were kind of leaving out with their career. But unfortunately, I got cut short. I chipped a bone in my knee. The doctors told me that they could go in and repair it, but and I might can squeak out another 2 years in the NFL. And they said, we want you to really think long and hard about that decision. But to me, it wasn't a long and hard decision. I didn't want to, I was young. I was 25, 26 at the time, and I couldn't see myself walking on a cane, past 30. And that was some of the implications they said that could happen if I continued to play. So I fell back on my plan B. I actually didn't graduate Clemson initially. I had to go back to school to get my degree. And so that was one of the best decisions that I made. So literally the next year after playing on in the NFL, I was student teaching at an elementary in Easley, South Carolina. So I'm out there running my PE squad, and it was my class against another teacher's class, and we went in the PE championships. And so, but I was fortunate again growing up to have a village of teachers, a village of coaches and parents to really surround me and make sure I had everything to make sure everything went the way it was supposed to go. And like I said, I had those old school teachers that didn't hesitate to really bend your ear and really get at you. And Miss Coleman, my seventh grade middle school teacher, is one that really comes to mind. That I just went to her retirement 2 years ago where we celebrated her. But that was it, man. I left football and went into sales. I did pharmaceutical sales for 3 years. I worked with GlaxoSmithKline, and then I opened up my own medical equipment company. So I kind of took a long indirect route to education. And I say those 10 years in sales really helped me out in the classroom. And so after I sold my medical equipment company, I took a job as a long-term sub, and I liked it so much, I just went on ahead and got certified. I passed the praxis, got certified to become a teacher. And I was a second grade teacher, and, and the rest is history. I really loved that job, giving the kids my best every day and demanding the best from my students. And they rose to the bar every time. And so we have fun in the classroom. And, I was in the classroom, fortunately, for 5 years. And now I'm an assistant principal at Joseph Keels Elementary, and I'm loving it.
That's great, man. And we're going to get to that a little later about your journey through the educational ranks to where you are now. Tell us a little bit about your high school career football-wise, because you were definitely a standout. Matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, you were the only one in high school that could shut down Jamal Lewis. No joke.
Yeah. Now, we were fortunate. We grew up in some really good times. Right now, if you go to Metro Atlanta, I think Gwinnett dominates some of the best players now. But when you and I came through high school, DeKalb County was right up there. DeKalb County, Atlanta, with the best players in the state of Georgia. We played against Jamal Lewis, Quincy Carter, Patrick Pass was in there. Several players that went on to play in the NFL, Cozy Coleman. And so playing at Stone Mountain High School, my first 2 years, I had my first 3 years, I had a fantastic coach with Coach Fligg. And he really ran the program like a college. And so it really prepared me to step right into college. And then Coach Fligg left after my junior year. And we had Coach Harris that came in and really just, did the same thing and really exposed you to a lot of different colleges. It was nothing for the coaches to call you into the office and say, hey, we got the college scouts is going to be there. Southwest DeKalb is going to be there. I just need to make sure that you're going to be there and you're going to show up. And I love the way they challenged me like that. And I took it personal, and I went out and I tried to play and give the best that I could. I played safety, cornerback, tight end, tailback, just everywhere on the field that they could place me. And really recruiting now is different than it was back then. Back then, you had 10 games to really showcase what you can do. Nowadays, recruits got, all these combines and different workouts they can go to, all the summer camps and stuff. But back then, you had those 10 games to really showcase your talents. And I love the week in and week out. We got Southwest DeKalb this week. We got Douglas this next week. We got Dunwoody the following week. So every week you had to bring your A game, and that really helped me going into college.
Yeah, man. And the interesting thing about our past is that I never actually had a chance to play with you. So everybody knows I was at Cross Keys High School, the other side of DeKalb County. And, we were terrible every year. Everybody knows that, man.
Yeah. we tried to recruit you. We tried to bring you over there to Stone Mountain. And unfortunately, we were 1 year too late. I think you did another year at Cross Keys. You came right after I left.
Yeah, when he say they try to recruit me, they ain't try to recruit me, y'all.
Right.
We didn't do anything illegal in DeKalb County back in the day.
No.
but but he right though. After my sophomore year at Cross Keys, we went I think we went 2-8 that year, and I was frustrated. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go over to Stone Mountain. Had some buddies over there, and I said, you know what, I stayed with these guys. I'm gonna stick around with them. We did another year. Then the next year we went 1-9 my junior year. I was like, man, I mean, and it's not like 9 losses that were close. They were like 50-point blowouts and things like that. But people don't realize we went 8-2 my first year. We had people like Jesse Tarplin, who went ahead and he had a great career at Georgia Tech. Rest in peace, Jesse. And we had those kind of individuals. When they left it, man, we just our program just struggled a little bit. So, I came to Stone Mountain the spring semester of my junior year when you were about to graduate, but everybody knew who you were, man. You were setting the bar very high. And the one thing I'll never forget about you is just how respectful you were to everybody, man. You set the bar so high. You treated everybody from the cafeteria people to the janitor to the freshmen on the team. You treated them with respect, and we always appreciated you for that, man. So, I have always saluted you since that time,
Man, I appreciate that, man. Yeah, my dad was an ex-Marine, and he demanded that, and he worked up there at the high school with us. He was campus security. And so if it was anything other than that, he was old school. He would take us back to the back and have a conversation with us. But, the old school kind. But
a conversation.
Right.
Conversation. You can't have those conversations these days, right?
Yeah, no, you can't do that these days.
Yeah, hey, I know Mr. Carswell very well, man. He's a great dude, man. How's he doing now?
Man, he's doing good. He just had a birthday, man. He turned 82 years old. So
Wow.
Man. And he's still a talker. He loves people. He loves getting out there, talking to anybody. He'll make a friend with anybody. So, but he's doing really well. He loves Clemson. Any team that we played for, it's nothing for him to go outside with a Stone Mountain shirt on, a Clemson hat, and some San Diego Charger gloves. And I'm like, Dad, where you going, man? So he put all that stuff on.
He's proud of his boy, man. That's good. Yeah. That's good. Well, speaking of Clemson, so at the time, people just see Clemson and they just think like, man, Clemson, one of the top 2, programs in the country. At the time, they weren't where they are now, So Everybody in the country was recruiting you. What made you choose Clemson?
Man, I'm going to tell you, Notre Dame was really my childhood dream school. Being born in Gary, which is 45 minutes from South Bend, and I still got tons of family up in the Gary area, and I actually still got family in South Bend as well. But I was signed, sealed, and delivered. I was going to Notre Dame, and there was no doubts about it. I really took visits just to have fun and just, my parents said, you earned that right, so go ahead and take those visits. And I just took it for the free food and the hotels and just to kind of see other campuses. But it was no doubt in my mind I was going to Notre Dame. But my senior year, Lou Holtz retired. And I still say to this day, had he not retired, I probably would have ended up at Notre Dame. But things happen for a reason. And we had a coach named Coach Bisacci. And I think Coach Bisacci was actually spent some time in Dallas, if he's not still out there, coaching with the Cowboys. But Coach Bisacci and Coach Charlie Harbison were the most aggressive recruiters you ever seen. So if I'm sitting at the living room table, we got another school, Tennessee, over there. I would get a phone call at the house, answer the phone, and this Coach Bisacci saying, I know you can't come to the door now, but check your mailbox when Tennessee leaves. I'm like, how did he know I had people over here? And I will open the letter, and there will be goals in there. When you come to Clemson, you're going to be an All-American. You're going to start as a freshman. We're going to get you to the NFL. You're going to graduate with a degree. And I just kept seeing that and just kept seeing Clemson. And he would show up at school, and, you see him at the school. He spent a lot of time and just kind of opened my eyes to Clemson. So I took a visit down there. I didn't even have Clemson on the radar. I couldn't tell you. I couldn't point to Clemson on the map. And so when I went down there, that really changed the game. The family environment, the atmosphere. We played at Memorial Stadium. And you know how it looks at Memorial Stadium when there was a full house in high school. But Clemson, man, when I got there and you see that team run down into that stadium, it really just changed the game. And not only did they have that part, but the academic part. Now, I'm going to be honest. I thought football would take care of itself. I was more concerned with the academic piece. I didn't want to come to college and become another statistic of another player that went and just kind of failed out of school or whatever, just kind of didn't work out. But they guaranteed me, they said, the ball is in your court. We will make sure that you graduate the right way. You know, we'll give you every tutor, every advantage that you need, but you got to apply yourself in these classes. And they challenged me the same way they did on the football field. They challenged us in the classroom. And so I said, man, this is where I'm supposed to be. And it didn't hurt that it was an hour and a half from home, so my parents could drive up and see every game, and I can shoot home on the weekends and, you know, and just kind of roll around Stone Mountain to my old stomping grounds, and then get back up to school. So it really helped that out. But I really love the decision that I made. You see, I'm still rocking the paw. Got my Gator Bowl ring on right now. So, but I really love the decision that I made. And also, you know, speaking of the power of the program now, I really like how Coach Sweeney reaches back to the former players. He calls us up and we go down and we have a preseason barbecue every year. And so going down there, he wants us to impart that wisdom to the players now. And the players, you know, it's not, oh, here we got these old fogies coming in here. They really listen and they're really interested in your story. And so I really like that about the program, and he's doing it the right way. So that's really, you know, when I went into the library that morning for signing day, I literally showed up with both the Clemson scholarship in one hand and Notre Dame in the other. And I just kind of thought about it, and I looked over at my parents, and I said, if I go to Notre Dame, man, they won't be able to come up and see me as often. And then I just, the family and the down home feeling that I felt at Clemson really just kind of tipped the scales towards Clemson.
Yeah, man, you made a fabulous decision, and you know, there's nothing like Death Valley. I mean, Coach Basacci recruited me as well, and you're right, he's a great recruiter. And you know, it was Clemson, North Carolina State, and Memphis with me, but then I had an injury my senior year, and I ended up signing with Furman, which is about 35 minutes from Clemson in Greenville.
Right.
Yeah, you know, I was there, so I wasn't that far from you for that year. But yeah, man, you made a great decision, man. I know you, just knowing what you've done since then, I know you do attribute a lot of that to being at Clemson. Didn't you sign with Matt Bailey? Y'all signed together, right?
We did. And me and Matt was actually roommates, man, my first year at Clemson. And Matt is a great guy. You know, he's funny, man. Matt will say anything. And so I'm gonna tell you,
do anything.
Yeah, but man, he was a great teammate, great friend. We still speak to this day. I keep telling him I'm gonna go down there and work out with him, man. But you know, he keep challenging all the former players to races, man. I don't want that smoke. I told him, man, I'm bone on bone in both knees. I need all that smoke, and he put me on Facebook Live talking about let's race.
Yeah, he'll definitely call you out too.
Yeah, see, I don't need that kind of smoke. So let's just show up, man. I'll hold the camera if he's racing somebody else, and just kind of leave it at that.
Well, you guys, man, you kind of started a trend of, you know, some Stone Mountain players going to the ACC. So the next year, Mr. Gary Bird, rest in peace, he joined you guys, and then I believe the year after that, I think J.J. Washington signed with North Carolina State. Jatavis Sanders, he signed with North Carolina State, and you know, he was there with Phillip Rivers. So there's a lot of players who were going to the ACC at that time, man. And you guys set the bar, man. You got
man. Yeah, I appreciate that. And see, really, DeKalb County churned those players out. You know, I just remember my freshman year watching Travis Stroud over at Dunwoody.
Yep.
Watching him kind of dominate, and then watching him go to UGA. And it meant so much to watch players that you've been on the field with. Now I'm looking at him play against Alabama, and I said, man, if he can make it, I can make it too. You know, but I got to put that work in. And watching Patrick Pass come through and Quincy Carter. And so really, you know, you just grab that baton and run as fast as you can, and then you hand it over to the next generation and watch them run. So I try to go up to Stone Mountain now, man, and kind of talk to those guys and talk to the team and just talk about that pirate pride that we had. Now, you know, we wasn't winning state championships, but we were very competitive. And we put players in college, and, you know, we graduated players, and we not only did we put them in college, but we put them out in the workforce. And now I look on Facebook and I see great fathers, and I see great, you know, dads and husbands, and they're out there doing that pirate pride across the board. So not just on the football arena, but they're doing it. And then I'm watching you. You know, I keep up with you on Facebook, and everything that you're doing, from flipping houses to, and you know, from a principal now. You know, I kind of patterned myself after you, and I saw you become a principal, And so the same way I had that drive and I set those goals, I saw you became a principal. As a matter of fact, I messaged you. I messaged you to see how did you do it, and you kind of sent me some stuff back. And man, I blazed a path and tried to become a principal too. So I'm still working on that too.
Man, it's crazy because I was gonna actually get to that later because I was thinking about that the other day, man. You did message me. You messaged me, I think in 2016.
Right.
I think you had finished your first year in the classroom, and you asked me about, hey, what do you think about this particular college, going to get my master's degree? And I said, man, whatever you do, go ahead and do it, man. You'll move up the ranks quickly because I just knew the leadership ability that you had from the time you were born a leader. People are born leaders, man. I really believe that, and you were just one of those guys who always, set the tone. And people, you don't have to speak up. People just automatically follow you, and that's what you did. And when I saw you message me about potentially getting in leadership, I was like, man, go ahead and do it. We need more strong leaders in the game. And I'm glad that you made that decision. But I guess we can get more to that later. After you finish your career, well, first of all, as a junior in Clemson, what were you rated as far as the NFL draft? Like, you were rated pretty high, weren't you?
Yeah, man. So, I saw it as high as, second round all the way to maybe fourth round. And so at that time, man, I led the ACC in interceptions with 6. I had 129 tackles. That was probably statistically my best season. I was a Thorpe Award finalist, a semifinalist. I was an All-American and All-ACC. And I really kind of was on the fence about leaving early, or should I come back to school? And, I made the decision to come back. And I really, looking back, you can say, well, it cost you some money. But I still say the experience that I gained at Clemson my senior year, the camaraderie that I developed, and then getting closer to my degree. Because, again, you got to keep in mind, I was so nervous. I thought football would take care of itself. But in the back of my head, I was just super nervous about making sure I did what I had to do in the classroom. And so I came back my senior year. And, they say my draft stock dropped. I'm not sure what happened, but I came back my senior year and I was still first team All-ACC. I was a Thorpe Award semifinalist, but I guess my stock fell from, second to fourth, and I was actually a 7th round pick. But, man, it didn't matter. You would have thought I was a first round pick when they called my name. And I was just excited to have that opportunity for so long. You grow up wanting to be in the NFL. From being in the backyard, throwing a football all by myself and playing a full game by myself, to now standing on the sideline, and my first regular season game was against the 49ers, and looking across to the other sideline and seeing Terrell Owens and seeing, Jeff Garcia and seeing some of those guys, Garrison Hurst. These are guys you grew up playing, Tecmo Bowl and stuff. Yeah. And now you out there. And now it's time for you to make your stamp. So, but, I think about that junior year, should I have left? But I think that I made the best decision by coming back.
Man, yeah, it's interesting. My brother kind of has a similar story. He went to Ohio State, and it's funny. I remember at the time you were like, "Hey, why he going to Ohio State?" Because Ohio State, their linebackers were like Andy Casamoyer,
right.
Guys like that. And I know Florida really wanted him badly, man. And you were like, "Hey, you should go to Florida."
Right.
But hey, he chose Ohio State, and he ended up going to Bethune-Cookman, and he was like a highly rated linebacker at Bethune-Cookman. And after his junior year, he was actually he was rated. One publication had him as a 2nd round pick. Had he come out after his junior year, and he waited, to his senior year as well. The same reason, just trying to improve his stock and finish getting that degree, and end up getting drafted. Injury riddled senior season. So one thing about football, man, you go when it's hot, or you just make that decision to come back. Obviously, like Jalen Smith, he played in that bowl game, and his draft stock fell, and he's lucky he's back on the field. But obviously, he's close to what he was before. But had he not played in that bowl game, he would have made a lot more millions. So obviously, you can't have those regrets or anything. I believe everything happens for a reason,
Right. Everything happens for a reason. And, coming back that senior year, I had an opportunity at Clemson. That was where I believe we began to turn that program from a 7-8 win type team, and we made some national headwaves that year. We got up to as high as number 3 in the country. We started out 8-0, man, and Georgia Tech broke our heart on the last play. in the corner of the end zone. I
Was
forgot
that
the
Joe
score.
Hamilton?
Was it Joe Hamilton? No, Joe Hamilton had left.
Okay.
They had some quarterback, Gotzi or something like that.
Oh,
But
okay.
that was the year we really should have beat Georgia Tech. And I'm going to just tell you this flat out. We did not prepare for Georgia Tech because we had a showdown with Florida State. And I know that is the cardinal sin. You don't do that in
Yeah.
football. I think we prepared for Georgia Tech for those 2 days, Monday and Tuesday. And then we began peaking at Florida State the following week for a big-time showdown. I think Florida State was number 1, and we were number 3. Now, if you go back, everybody's going to deny it, and they're going to say the right thing. Yeah, we prepared for Georgia Tech. But we didn't, and Georgia Tech came out there, and hats off to them. They took it to us, but we had our chances to win it. And, man, they converted on a 4th and long and caught it in the corner of the end zone and beat us on that last play. But the following week, man, we went down to Tallahassee and got tore to pieces. I think they had 800 yards of total offense on us, but we were still kind of, had our head in the tank after that loss to Georgia Tech. And Florida State had a week off. So we had played 8 straight games to that point. But I still say that experience my senior year with that ride, looking at how we're rising in the polls, and just, another year with your brothers out there competing and then getting closer to my degree. I think that helped me out when it was time to go back to my plan B, being that close to my degree where I only had maybe a semester or 2 to finish up.
Okay, so yeah, you said you didn't get that degree after you were done that year. So what happened after you finished playing football for Clemson?
So I got drafted, went out to the Chargers, and man, I had a fantastic. The NFL was all it was cracked up to be. I love traveling from city to city. I love going to the different stadiums, looking at the different athletes. I mean, now everybody out there can flat out play, and there was no players that everybody could play from the center all the way out. You had athletes across the field, and I love getting out there and competing and putting my ability up against those players' abilities. And so I played my first year. I was Special Teams Player of the Year. I took pride and I won the Community Service Award for the Chargers. I partnered up with Gatorade and the San Diego Police Department, and we went around to the inner city of San Diego, and we did youth football camps. And I did that every week on my off day, and I really enjoyed that. To see the kids' faces lighten up. These are inner city kids who wouldn't otherwise have an opportunity to see a Charger player or go to a Charger game. We brought the Chargers to them. And I still got the book around here somewhere, and you can see me out there racing with the kids. And so, but my second year I went out and chipped a bone in my knee. And that's when they went in and did the repairs, and they put me back out there too early. I ended up tearing it up again. And then that's when I had the conversation. And they told me, hey, man, we can repair it. You can probably squeak out another 2 or 3 years, but you're probably going to be walking on a cane by the time you're 30. And like I told you at the time, I was 25, 26, didn't have any kids, but I wanted to have that basketball game with my future son in the driveway, and we battled, going at it, or, walking my daughter down the aisle one day, my future daughter down the aisle. And so I knew, thinking longevity and really having that plan B. So all those years where teachers talked about making sure you had a plan B, and my parents, instilling that in me, I just made the tough decision at that point to go back to school. And so I went and I rehabbed my knee. I had the surgery, and then I went back to Clemson. And it took me, I think, 2 semesters, and then I graduated.
Yeah, man, that's a great story. And it pretty much shows where you are. You've always kind of been, mature beyond your years, because there's a lot of people who, if you tell them, hey, choice A is to retire and go on with my life and stay healthy, and choice B is to keep playing and potentially ruin my future, a lot of them going to choose the second choice. Seriously, like even the guys who may have an early onset of CTE, they say now, like, man, I wouldn't change a thing,
Right.
And it's just sometimes you have to be able to look beyond what you're doing now. Obviously, you're gonna give up some millions, but ultimately, if you can't enjoy the millions down the road, then what sense does it make to continue doing it?
Right. Now I'm gonna tell you, it wasn't an easy decision, and my initial decision was, let's go. Go ahead and do the surgery and let's do it. And I'll work that other part out down the road. But I said, just give me a night to think about it. I went home and I talked to my parents, and it was tough. That was one of the toughest decisions that I made in my life. And just you at a crossroads right here. Here's your lifelong dream. You're at the table right now, and things are working out. You can have this surgery, and they're telling me, it's a 90% chance you can get back to where you were. But down the road, it's going to really be a deteriorated situation with your knee. And so, but I think, talking to my parents and just kind of weighing my options, man, it was a tough decision, but I'm glad I made that decision. Even with me making that decision to this day, I got to wear a certain type of shoe with, the dress shoe on top with the tennis shoe bottom to
Yeah.
keep my knees from swelling up. Otherwise, if I wear the hard shoes all day at work and I'm walking around going in different classrooms, it's going to be a bad situation by that night. So even with that decision, I still, in the mornings, those first 2 or 3 steps, it's real kind of creaky, and you got to kind of get up and work through those pains. And you just, you're in so much, I'm not going to say in so much pain, but you have former football players, you got pain that it's just a part of what's going on now, so you
You
don't
just
even think about it anymore. Right. You just deal with it. But
yeah.
I'm glad I made that decision because I got a little girl now that's super active. And we went for a walk today. And, when she was little, I don't think she learned how to walk because I would put her up on my shoulders and carry her around. And I still would do it to this day, but she won't let me. But I don't regret that decision that I made. We go in the backyard, we run around and play back there. I got a very active German Shepherd that I walk, and he keeps me accountable. That's my walking buddy.
Yeah.
I come in from work, I open the door, he's gonna be sitting at the door ready to go. And so I'm just glad I made that decision. I'm still in pain, but I have a past where I can look at football and be proud of those accomplishments. But I also can move past football. But moving past football, I don't take that and just leave that football behind. I take some of those same things that made me successful on the football field, whether the preparation part, the competition part, not being afraid of the big lights, wanting to be there when when it's time to make a big play, wanting to be the person to make that big play. It's the same thing in the classroom or in the school. The preparation, knowing my students, the same way I took time to learn my opponents and learn what they like to do in certain situations. I took that time to learn my students and know if I call little Johnny back here for small group, he gonna need to sharpen his pencil. He gonna need to, a water break. So I had pencils back here, water bottles back here. So I knew little Johnny wasn't going nowhere. Little Johnny broke his pencil. Oh, I need to sharpen my pencil, Mr. Carswell. I got you covered.
Yeah.
Can I get some water, Mr. Carswell? I got you covered. So, and we gonna get this work in because I studied little Johnny the same way I studied my opponents. And that helped me to move that bar and move my students to those high achievement levels.
Yeah, and that's interesting you say that, man, because I know now as an administrator, you are able to kind of transfer that on to your teachers, and whatever professional developments you do, they're able to kind of do implement the same plans that you had as a teacher yourself. So, man, that's amazing. You study your students like you study your opponent.
That's it.
That's what you got to do, man. That's what you got to do. Well, so after you had the injury and you made that decision to retire from the NFL, what was next? I mean,
so I went back to Georgia. I had the surgery, and then I had about a 6-month recovery time. And I just, I was kind of in the funk. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was kind of in the funk. I stayed in the house, had my blinds closed, grew my beard out, had a big afro, and sitting on the couch playing PlayStation every day. I got really good at Madden and just sitting in there. And my dad, like I said, old school, ex-Marine. I just remember him coming over, and I know his knock from anywhere. He knocked on my door. I went and answered it. He came in and opened all the blinds and said, "Hey, it's time for you to get going." And so that's what I love about my dad. Even to this day, he calls me and holds me accountable. But he said, "You got to get going. You done sat in here long enough. I'm gonna give you, another day, and then when I come back tomorrow, I need you to have some plans, to be able to go and move forward. And you had your time with football, but let's leave that behind." So just him holding me accountable like that. The next day when he came back, I had already called Clemson and spoke to them about coming back and enrolling. And so I enrolled in Clemson. I told them, well, I'm starting school, I believe, let me think. I think I started school that summer. I started in summer school. And so I had already got enrolled and everything, and they took care of all of that stuff. And I went back to school that following summer.
Yeah, and the difficult thing with people like you is, everybody has such high expectations. So the normal person, the regular person, they can retire from whatever they're doing with no fanfare or anything. And with you, obviously, your phone probably was ringing off the hook. People asking questions or feeling sorry for you or just trying to wonder how you're doing. And that probably made it worse,
It made it 10 times worse. And so, like you said, you got, family members calling, friends calling, and, you riding to the gas station and you run into people at the gas station. But to get up off that mat, getting challenged by my dad and to get up off that mat, knowing that I had a life after football, that was really powerful. And really, when I went back to Clemson and stepped back into the classroom as a regular student, I didn't even know what it felt like to be a regular. I'm so used to going to class, having meetings, but to go to class at 9 and be done at 12 and you're done for the rest of the day,
Yeah.
I didn't even know what that felt like. And so, getting that sense of normalcy back really helped me to make that transition to after football. But, and then I had some good friends that I can rely on and talk to kind of walk you through that tough phase. And of course, my parents would always, again, challenge me and not let me sit in that cloud for a long time. And so that helped me out a lot. And so once I started my student teaching and I saw that I had a gift in the classroom with students, the students is really what helped me kind of get past football and past that part. But they still, to this day, want to race me, so, my knees, I got to get my knees ready. I got a big time showdown with the 4th grade class on this coming Friday. So I gotta get my knees ready to do that 40-yard dash.
And so you'll have that live on Facebook?
Yeah, I might have to have the edited version. As the years go by, the races are getting closer and closer. I think last year I had to lean at the tape, but I won. So that,
Man, we'd love to see that, man.
Yeah.
We'd love to see that. Well, okay, so you did your student teaching right after you got done with the NFL. You went back, did your student teaching. But what about the gap in between doing student teaching and actually being a teacher, full-time teacher? I know you had a lot going on in between then. What happened?
Yeah. So when I graduated from Clemson, I got offered a position at the elementary that I was student teaching at. And I had a friend that was telling me about pharmaceutical sales. And that's all he kept talking about. And he talked about the perks and how much you can make with pharmaceutical sales. And I kind of looked into it and I liked it. And so I did a couple of interviews, and actually Coach Bowden, man, really helped me out. And he was still coaching at Clemson at the time. And I put him down as a reference. And man, he would call back and leave his cell phone number and, man, speak real highly of me. And, I knew he was going to do that, but I was just shocked that he would leave his cell phone number.
Yeah.
And so, they called him back. And I ended up getting a position at GlaxoSmithKline. I interviewed for a job right outside of Atlanta. And they hired me, and they said that you would do well in the South Carolina market since you played football at Clemson. And so I was like, man, I don't even care. Wherever you need me to go, I'll go. And so they said, well, if you don't like Columbia, just, do that for 6 months, get your numbers right, and just put in for a transfer. That was back in 2005, and I've been here ever since. But I worked with GlaxoSmithKline. I really loved sales because that fueled the competition, the competitor in me. I love getting my numbers up. I love looking at that scoreboard, seeing what my competition was, and getting that separation. And, I like to put them in the ground. I didn't want to make it close. I want to really blow you. I'm the type of coach, I'm going to call a timeout with 2 minutes to go, kick an onside kick.
To get the ball.
But I really love sales because that really fueled that competitor side in me. And so I did that for 3 years. We were a Diamond Tier district, and we were a Diamond Tier team in the Diamond Tier district. That means we were one of the top teams in the country. And so having that team aspect again, and having that competition where every day, sales, especially pharmaceuticals, they really look at those numbers and just, being able to excel with that. But man, I did that for 3 years, and I was like, I can do this on my own. I can open up my own company. And, you know, I know these doctors really well. The doctors really respected the knowledge that I brought to their office. And so I ended up sitting down with a business partner down in Orangeburg, South Carolina for lunch. And we talked about opening up our own company. And man, I think I left GlaxoSmithKline maybe 2 weeks later. And my dad didn't understand that, man. He old school. He, you know, worked for a company for 40 years and get a watch. But he didn't understand that, man. He
Just a
was,
watch.
yeah, get a watch and a rocking chair. And so he didn't understand that. And he, you know, he said, you know, you leaving they got a company car, they give you a gas card, you know, you making good money. You gonna go and leave all that for all this uncertainty? I said, well, I can make that same thing on my own, Dad, and don't have all that overhead. You know, the money that they're making, if they're paying me that, who knows how much they're making. So now it was tough. You know, our first year, I think we made $10,000 our first year after expenses. But every year after that, we began to double and triple what we made until I surpassed what I was making in pharma. And so I really, really loved that job. Like I said, the competition, you know, we were competing as a small two owner company. We were competing with the big boys, you know, when it came to contracts. We walked into the VA here in Columbia, and we actually won bids for contracts, just me and my business partner, Malcolm Presley. And so we were able to go in and use those sales skills and those communication skills and win contracts over these big, larger companies that were bidding for those contracts. So I really like that part of the job.
Man, that's awesome. So, you know, obviously y'all started making really good money, but it seems like deep down something was missing. And then
Yeah, man. You know, I coached 10 years. So when I got here in 2005, I always coached Little League. And you know, I working with the kids, and at that age, I coached 8, 9, 10-year-olds, and so I was the defensive coordinator, and I was old school, man. I watched tape for Little League, and the week before I would go and have somebody record the team that we were getting ready to play, and I would actually break those games down like it was still an NFL, and break down the other coaches' tendencies, what they like to do on third down, formations, and all that. And so I had those 8, 9-year-olds flying around out there to the point other coaches were saying that I was cheating. Now I wasn't doing the Patriot thing where I was, you know, stealing signals. But man, you know, Little League third down, they come out in the I backfield. I knew the coach was going to run toss right or toss left. So we would blitz off the edge and just hit it right in the backfield. And so that's what was missing. And just I would have parents contact me for students on my team that was having issues in school. One of my parents wanted me to attend an IEP meeting at their child's school. And that's when I knew the effect that I was having, because when I went to the IEP meeting, listening to the teachers talking, I thought they was talking about a monster. You know, they was just talking about how disrespectful and how this student was. And I said, that's not what I'm seeing, you know, on the football field. You know, and I just kind of advocated for that student. And of course, I had to challenge him and say, you know, now if they're saying that, what's going on? What's really going on? And then also having that mentor piece. I mentored a lot of students in the area, but just giving back to the kids. You know, you can make a certain amount of money, but at the end of the day, are you significant? Are you making an impact on the next generation? One of the things you have time for in sales is listening to the radio while you drive. And there was a talk show, Michael Baisden. And so he would come on and talk about living your dream. And I just remember standing in the doctor's office because as a pharmaceutical rep, you had to stand in the closet. And so I just remember standing in the closet waiting on the doctor to come back there. And I was like, man, this is not what I want to do for the rest of my life. And just remembering the IEP where the student, you know, I had to advocate for that student. I just said, man, let me just go ahead and fall back on my plan B. But what helped is, you know, they began something called competitive bidding. And I could see the writing on the wall. They were really running the smaller companies out of business. And so I was able to sell the company to make a profit and then just jump back into the classroom after that.
Awesome. And you did about 5 years in the classroom, correct?
Right. So I did, I was a long-term sub and then did 5 years in the classroom. Actually, I had a chance to win Teacher of the Year. And that was one of my goals coming in. I wanted to win Teacher of the Year. And so I did that my third year, and then did 2 more years in the classroom. and then became an administrator. And as an administrator, like you said, that competition, you got to find a way, because competition and education don't really kind of go hand in hand. So I got to kind of suppress that while I'm in school, but every now and then it'll show up, because as a teacher, I wanted my numbers to be the best. And when we sit in these data meetings and these numbers go up on the wall, I couldn't wait to put my numbers up, because I knew, I wasn't arrogant, but I knew I was going to have some of the top numbers in school, just because, I challenged my students. I never lowered my expectation for them. I developed those relationships with them, not only in the classroom, but if they had different events outside the classroom. I had a lot of those hands-on lessons. I really challenged them, and we did a lot of these DOK level 3, where we really did deep stuff. I didn't never have them doing like matching and, DOK level 1s. I always pushed them to those higher DOK levels, and all my students grew every year. As a matter of fact, I had a former teammate. He played safety with me at Clemson. I don't want to say his name because I don't know if he wants this known, but we would bet on our kids. And he was a teacher down in Florida, and we would bet to see who would have the best numbers. Now, we ended up 1-1. And in the last year, where I knew I was going to beat him, COVID hit. And so we didn't take the state testing then. But we bet on our kids, and I was confident that I could have better numbers than him, period. But it was just a friendly competition. But at the end of the day, I knew what we put into those kids in the classroom. I knew what their potential was. And I couldn't wait to see what they did on the test, because I knew they were going to excel on it.
Man, that's incredible, man. And for you to win that Teacher of the Year your third year definitely is a testament to, to what you can do. And it doesn't surprise me, because that's who you are, man. That's who everybody knows you to be.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Hey, no problem, man. What made you finally decide to get into administration? Was it just one of those things where I know if I'm making this big of an impact inside the classroom, I can make an even bigger impact with a larger school, or what?
It was. I really loved the impact that I had on my students in the classroom. And a year at a time, I can impact, 20 students. But as an administrator, I'm inside all these different classrooms all the time, every day. And I got me one of those little rolling desks. And so I would sit out in the hallway and just impact the students, see how they're doing. I go into the classrooms, and I'm always in classrooms, visible to the students. I'm greeting them coming off the bus, rain, sleet, snow. I'm out there right at the bus footsteps. And if I have to have an umbrella for the students getting off the bus, then that's what I got. Just trying to make that impact. And just, we had our Black History Month this month, and we had different days on Thursday. And one of the days was come dressed as a famous educator. And one of my students came dressed as me. And I said, I just got to the school. And so just already having that type of impact, I can't wait till we're not 100% face-to-face. We're in this virtual and hybrid type model. But I can't wait till we get all of the students back in, just to see the type of impact that we can make, with our mentoring programs. And just sometimes just sitting down and talking to the students and letting them know our story, and letting them know that, I played football, but let me tell you something else that I did. We did, academically, I did this, and that, so they can see that there's a balance. Because I think a lot of times when people run into problems is when they're so heavy on the athletic part that if that athletics is taken away, then they don't have that balance. So, just stressing that balance in their lives and different things like that. So,
man, that's a blessing, man. That's huge. Like a student dressing up as you for Black History.
Yeah,
man. I hope y'all got plenty of pictures for that, man.
Yeah, I gotta send you a picture, man. I put it on my Twitter, man. And
that's legit, man.
Yeah.
That's legit. I'm actually in a mentoring program at my daughter's school. It's a group of 12 young men, and unfortunately, most of the time obviously if you're in these mentoring programs, there's usually not a father figure around. So you just have to kind of be that father figure as much as you can. And,
right.
You might see them a couple hours a month, but just that little bit of time, they really value that time as much as you do, and it's just incredible. So I just can't imagine a kid dressing up as me for Black History. Man.
And I walk around with this little portfolio in my hand. He had his portfolio too. So I was So I was like, man, this is crazy. But you know, just that really let me know I love my job, and I don't even consider it a job. I'm not gonna go as far to say I'll do it for free, but but I really love the job, the challenges that come with it, the long days that come with it. You know, it's like a puzzle. But at the end of the day, I know that we're making an impact on the future generation, and who knows how far that ripple goes out, the impact that we're able to make. Because I think back, you know, over my from kindergarten all the way through college, I can just remember those teachers vividly, the ones that had a lasting impact. And on the flip side, I can remember the teachers that really didn't have, that I could tell that even as a third grader or fourth grader who really didn't like me. I could tell that as a
Yeah.
student. And so, you know, I oftentimes tell teachers, be careful what you say, because it can leave a lasting stain on a child, and they will remember you for that, you know. And so I got some vivid memories of my kindergarten teacher, Miss Farkas, you know, bringing us in. And I just remember, you know, looking back, that's back when kindergartners went half a day. And
Uh-huh.
so I just remember her, you know, bringing us in and instilling pride in us, you know, and confidence. She didn't allow you to cry. That's back when you can kind of yell at kids a little bit, but she didn't allow you to cry. But I could tell she really loved us and she really cared about us. But on the flip side, I knew some teachers, man, that didn't want to have anything to do with us. And, you know, they were just there to collect a paycheck. And you can tell that.
You know it, man. And honestly, like we all know, and we try to preach it to our teachers and everybody else that, you know, it doesn't really necessarily matter what you say because, you know, 20, 30 years from now, people won't remember what you said to them, but they will always remember how you made them feel.
That's it.
They'll always remember that, man. And I remember those teachers that you just hated walking in their classroom. And
Right.
when I got into the game, I said, I don't want to be that individual. Like if I see some of my old kids today from Stop Six over here in Fort Worth, you know, they will tell you, you know, I try to make them feel like the most special person. Now, I might even tell them, hey, you my favorite or whatever. And I
That's,
might tell it to all 30 of my kids in that same
that's
day.
it. That's
But
it.
nobody else gonna know I told anybody else that, you know.
Right.
So
Right.
you just got to make them feel good, man. And you know that's how you empower the kids, and they will always remember that, man. So I can definitely appreciate that story.
Oh yeah, and then they'll pass it on to the next generation. So you know, like I said, you just don't remember. You just don't know how far that ripple is going to go out, or the impact that you're making.
Absolutely. But hey, man, tell me about your book writing with your daughter, Grace.
Man, I'm gonna tell you, it was funny. It started out. Grace had a couple of writing assignments, and she was lacking on details. And I would sit down and kind of help her write details and different things like that. And so I was looking. I said, "Man, Grace, we're getting pretty good at this writing." And I had a friend who writes books, and she said, "Man, you and your daughter should try to write a book." And so she challenged us to do that. I think it was Thanksgiving or it was over Thanksgiving break. So it was, and so me and Grace sat down and we wrote a book, and it's called Robert Uses His Imagination, and it's a children's book. And Grace helped me with the illustrations, and it worked out really well. And then I think the second book we wrote is Robert Learns Responsibility, and that's really a book about Grace where she just got a German Shepherd puppy, and in the book Robert got a German Shepherd puppy, and he learns responsibility. But man, I just think that it was a fantastic activity with my daughter that I could really participate in, and it was really about her, just making sure. I just wanted to do something special with us that she can always refer to and show her kids. You know, me and my dad wrote this book together, and just you know. But now she's left me in the dust. She wants to write her own books, and so
Yeah.
she said, "Yeah, we done, Dad. I'm good. I can write my own books." And so I really like that. And I just did a read aloud for a class on Friday, and I read our book. And they didn't want my autograph; they want Grace's autograph on the book. So I told the class that I was going to get everybody a book, and they wanted Grace to sign it. And so, but that was really an activity for my daughter and I just to get closer. You know, I looked around and I look at your Facebook posts a lot, and you talk about how fast your kids are growing up. And so, just looking at Grace, man, my wife and I were talking, and I said, man, we're 6 years away from her going off to college, and she's not going to be in the house no more. And so I said, I really want to just kind of cherish these moments while we got them. Not that she's gonna go away forever, but she's not gonna be in the house like that. She's not gonna, she's always gonna be your baby girl, but she's gonna go out and have her own family and different things. So I just really want to cherish these moments, and so that was just an activity that we did together. And now she's left me in the dust. She's actually back there working on a book now in her room. So yeah.
That's incredible, man. So my little story about your book. So I bought three copies of the book, and I was actually gonna hold it up and show it here today, and I couldn't find it in the house. So I told all three of my kids, I said, hey, y'all look for this book. If one of y'all find it, all three of y'all could get $5 each.
Yeah.
All three of y'all get $5 each. So they all tearing up the house looking for the book. Then I remember I said, you know what? Hold on. Last year I don't know if you know Marie Kondo, like just decluttering your life and all that. So last year I gave about maybe 100 books to an elementary school. And I think somehow that book got caught up in the other, because it's a thin book.
Right.
I had 3 books and somehow they all got caught up. So obviously there's an elementary school somewhere. I can't remember which one, but they're all enjoying that book. But that was Robert Learns About Responsibility. I need to get the first one as well. So
I'm gonna have to send it to you. I think I got it. Hold on, let me get it. It's right over here. Hold on.
Okay.
This is the first one here. Robert uses his imagination.
Okay.
And so one of the things I did, man, is my students at my class, they was like, Mr. Carswell, you should try to throw some little hints about you in there. So I actually got pictures, some real pictures of us in there. So like that's a picture of me.
Yeah.
On the TV in there. So I just did little things like that, man, and the kids, and I used my class as like a test subject. So I would read it to them, and I went around my school when I was teaching and just kind of read during my planning period to different classes and got feedback. And so the second one, Robert Learns Responsibility. That's my real truck in real life. I got an old school 1970 pickup. And so if you zoom in close, man, I got Grace's name instead of the Chevy bow tie.
Yeah.
I got my daughter's name on there. So I just put little tidbits in there. And, on the back, I got a picture of me and my daughter. Yep. And so I just kind of did that, man. And Grace really loved going through the book, trying to find little things that I hid in there about her and I. And so, my wife got mad. She was like, now you writing all these books and y'all didn't put me in there. So I had to put my wife in this new book. Yeah.
Happy wife, happy life, man.
That's it.
You got to make her the subject of the third book.
Right. So, but Grace done kicked me out the group. We had a nice little group running. She done kicked me out the group. So I'm gonna see if I can suggest that to Grace. But she don't even want me drawing none of the pictures no more. But she's really, I'm gonna tell you, she's really into art. I tried to get her into sports and stuff like that, but that's really not her thing. But she knows how to play the piano. And she really took an art class at her school now, and her teacher was phenomenal and really just kind of blossomed that skill with her. And so her drawings have really taken off. And so I don't even want to. We used to have drawing competitions. I don't even want to mess with her no more. So
you're done.
Yeah, I'm done.
Man, I got you, man. Well, what does the future look like for Mr. Robert Carswell? I know you're looking at starting a doctoral program.
Right. So I'm currently enrolled at Wingate. I'm in my second semester of a doctoral program, and I finish up in 3 years. I put myself on a time frame. I actually wrote my goals down. So in 3 years, you have to be an assistant principal for 3 years before you can apply for a principalship. Mm-hmm. And so I put myself on a 3 to 4 year plan. If after 3 years I feel like there's some things that I need to kind of sharpen up on, that will be my focus of my 4th year as an assistant principal. But if after 3 years I feel like I'm ready, then I'm gonna jump out there as a principal. But I plan on getting that doctorate and then follow for what, in your footsteps, what you did, and get that. As soon as I get my degree as a doctorate, I plan on enrolling immediately to get my realtor's license, because that's really, I want to expand my real estate portfolio and just kind of, work on some investments with that, buying houses, buying real estate, and not so much on the selling end, but just more so acquiring different properties. So, but I want to become a principal, and eventually, I'm not sure if I want to go as high as superintendent, but I want to do something down at the district office where now instead of you impacting just one school, you can impact the whole district, the whole county. So looking forward for that challenge.
Man, that's interesting you say that. I'm actually in a superintendent certification program right now.
Okay.
That's a whole different beast right there. But
right.
My superintendent did tell me, he said, it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. So, we'll see how that goes.
That's it.
Yeah, you recently contacted me about it's like a YouTube series or something you're doing. I know you highlighted my university, Bethune-Cookman University.
Yes. Yeah, we're an AVID school. And so one of our AVID site goals is to expose the students to different colleges. And so what I did was, I was like, well, we're in this COVID, we can't take the students on these tours. And so I looked online and I just said, well, let me find some college tours. And all the college tours weren't geared toward elementary school or geared toward little kids. And so, I got an app on my iPad and I made myself into a little cartoon body. And I started taking these tours of these different colleges and made it real kid friendly, and so implementing a lot of those AVID strategies into the video. And so one of the things that I really like is the students get a chance to reflect on the video. So I went by my pre-K class, and the pre-K students are even doing reflections where they're drawing themselves on campus. And so speaking of Bethune-Cookman, one of the pre-K students drew themselves in the band at Bethune-Cookman. So the impact there, now I'm keeping all that stuff and just tracking those students, and I'm just curious to see if that's where that love for college starts, just exposing those students. And so this month coming up, we're going to focus on going abroad and studying abroad. So we're going to do a couple of universities down in Africa. We're going to go to London for a university. And then I'm going to go and try to find one in Australia. But I got a little YouTube channel. I got about 25 of those college tour videos on it. So, but the kids really love it.
Yeah, man. And in 10, 12 years, man, one of those kids, I guarantee you, they're going to go to Bethune-Cookman University. And the reason is going to be because they were exposed through the video. So, man, I really appreciate you for that. And I can't tell you how thrilled I am for the things you are doing. I will recruit you to Fort Worth, Texas, if I could, man. I've got a couple of jobs for you down here. We can definitely use you, but we know you got unfinished business there in Columbia, brother. So, I'm not gonna try to, go too hard at that,
Yeah. Hey, we're gonna try to recruit you to come up here just like Stone Mountain. Our own school, man, and we're gonna compete and dominate in there. So.
Let's do it, man. Well, hey, you know what, man? I really appreciated our time today. We can go probably on for another hour or two if we really wanted to.
Right.
But man, I think you gave so much information and so much knowledge. Is there any way anybody can contact you if they have any questions or if they want to get any of your books or check out your channel?
Yeah, you can reach me at my email address is rcarswell@richland2.org. Again, that's rcarswell@richland2.org. And man, I'm still learning this Facebook stuff and all that stuff. But I got a YouTube channel. If you just look up Robert Carswell, you'll see my YouTube channel on there. And I got 27 college tour videos on there. And really, somebody can plug that in and use that at their school if they're an AVID school, or they just want to expose their students to different colleges. It's really engaging. Each video is about 2-3 minutes long. But it's super engaging. It's a great way to have those students reflecting and thinking about college. And really, it's engaging from pre-K. My school goes from pre-K all the way up to 5th grade. I'm on Twitter as well. And I probably should have looked this up before I came on here. But my Twitter is @CarswellTiger9. And I post a lot of different things on there as well. But again, man, I really appreciate you having me down. It's a real honor. And really, man, you're somebody that a lot of people look up to, and I look up to as well. Like I said, I really follow you on Facebook, and a lot of the different things that you do and expose people to, I try it over here in my corner, and then I try to make it work, and then I reach out to you to see if get some different tips and advice on.
Man, I appreciate that. That you don't know how much that means to me, brother. Just for the GOAT. We call you the GOAT. The GOAT to say he looks up to anybody, that's incredible.
Yeah.
So I appreciate it, man. Hey, if you could leave us with one word. So you got a little fifth grader right now who goes to a career day, and Robert Carswell is in front of him, and this young man says, I want to be a principal one day, or I want to be a teacher one day. What do you have to say to upcoming potential educators to persuade them to stay the course to become an administrator or a teacher?
If you want to do a job where you can be significant, you will be remembered for for lifetimes. You're going to impact many lives. And at the end of the day, you can come home and know you really made a difference and lay your head down. Education is the way to go. I've been doing this now for 6 years, but education is going to be that way to go, to really have that impact on many lives. And you just don't know the impact that you're having and the ripple effect, where years down the road, you go and, like you said, you run into that student and they say, oh yeah, Mr. Muhammad, I had you were my middle school teacher. And so you just don't know the impact that you're going to have. So, if you want a career where you can really be significant and make a difference, think about that education.
Mr. Carswell.
Yeah.
I salute you, brother.
I appreciate it.
Hey, I love you, bro. Just keep up the good work. Keep doing big things, and we'll definitely be in touch, all right?
All right, love you too, bro. You take care now. Keep doing big things yourself.
Yes, sir, man. I will talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. Take care.
All right, you do the same.